In this demonstration, we're going to be highlighting some of the compliance capabilities of IT Foundation Management, specifically focused on advanced threat management. IT Foundation Management includes both a security, operations, compliance, and services foundation, as well as virtualization. In this video, we're going to be focusing on some of the capabilities of the Compliance Foundation. The IT Foundation is really all about managing the interaction of privileged actors with privileged interfaces in the IT infrastructure, with IT Foundation Management sitting between the privileged actors and the privileged users. This gives it the capability to provide unified security and compliance capabilities while simplifying the work that these people do on a daily basis. One of the capabilities of IT Foundation Management is the ability to have command and control around privileged user activity. What this means is that privileged actors the work that they actually do, whether it's for break fix, incidents, configuration, patching, etc., can actually be scanned in real time as they're performing their work, and it can be evaluated against business rules to determine whether a threat has occurred. If no threat is found, then no action is required, whereas if a threat is actually identified, then we can generate an alert or even take an action such as terminating the user's session. In our demonstration today, we will be demonstrating three different threat scenarios. The first threat scenario will be generating an alert on a file or directory permission change. The second will be generating a warning on an unsecured file transfer. And in the third, we'll actually terminate a live session automatically based on a critical security event, in this case where someone is actually trying to dump records from a database. At this point, we'll go ahead and start the live demonstration.
Okay. The first one we're going to do is generating an alert on file directory permission changes. So I'm going to go to my ConsoleWorks. I'm going to view my consoles. And I'm going to connect to this console called Mint. We're going to allow the access. Now, in this Mint console, let's see where I am. I'm in the root subdirectory. There are some files in here. What I'd like to do is just create a file. And now we'll look at it. You can see on the left that it has read and write permission for its owner and only read permission for anyone else. So if I were to make this world writable, which is not a good thing in most businesses, it accepts the command, and we'll look at it again. We'll see that it now has read, write, and execute for everyone. Now we're going to go back to our ConsoleWorks, and we'll go down to our events, and let's look at our occurrences. There it goes. And we'll see that it threw an alert. We can see that it threw an alert that Chmod 777 happened on console Mint.
Okay.
Now, our second scenario, which is the FTP transfer. And now what I'd like to do is we'll just FTP and we'll go over to another server. Let's pick an active server. But we should be able to see that it did throw our warning that FTP was used.
Indeed. So we've
even
identified.
if it failed.
Yes. So we've identified anytime someone has tried to actually execute an FTP transfer. Now, if this was an SFTP. Now, if this was an SFTP transfer, would it still throw the warning, Chris?
No, it will not, because it's triggered specifically on the keyword for FTP. Okay, now our last scenario, terminating a live session automatically on a critical security event. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to connect back up to that Mint console. And I have a, well, first let's show you how it could work. And we're going to SSH to Mint VM.
So at this point, we're not actually using ConsoleWorks. We're going through a normal access without ConsoleWorks in between us, right?
That is correct. We put in the correct username. And now we're in that same Mint server. And I can go into MySQL dump, -u, give it the root user, -p, telling it's going to ask for a password. The database name is customer. And I'm going to direct that to a file. Give it the password. I'm in root. So let's look at that cc_open file. And we'll see it sitting there. And when we look at it, we can see that there's credit card information in it.
Ah, so now in this case, if we didn't know this was happening, we've now actually accessed privileged information that could be abused.
Correct.
And without ConsoleWorks in between us and this privileged interface, we don't necessarily may not have any means to know this has actually occurred.
Correct. I'm going to go ahead and delete those files. And now when we look, none of the CC files exist.
Okay, so let's see how it's different with ConsoleWorks.
Let's get out of here, and we'll go back to where we are. We're still in that root directory. To show you we're not cheating you, there's the same directory listing. And now I'll do the same command. MySQL dump, -u, root, -p, customer database, and redirect it to /root/cc_, we'll say closed this time, .sql. It came up to ask for the password, and ConsoleWorks immediately killed the connection, stopping them from accessing any further.
So now this specifically highlights the command and control capabilities of ConsoleWorks for advanced threat detection, because in this case what we've identified is what is we believe to be a high severity threat.
Correct.
And what ConsoleWorks has actually done is automatically, without anyone doing anything, it's actually killed the session before that action could be completed. Is that correct?
That is correct. We'll go ahead and reconnect back up to the console. Bring it down where we can see it. And we'll see that they got an access denied. So anyone that tried to reconnect would not just be able to go into there.
Okay.
And we're still in the root directory. And we see a 0-byte file called cc closed. It did create the file, but there is absolutely no information in it.
Ah. So at this point, not only have we detected the threat, taken the action, in this case a very aggressive action, to terminate the session, but we also have all of the privileged user activity logged so that we can actually look and see exactly what happened.
Correct.
When we come back to look at this scenario.
That's correct.
Well, very good. Well, thank you very much, Chris. This highlights some of the capabilities of ConsoleWorks to act as a privileged activity compliance monitoring and threat and control capability within the organization. Shows that we can raise different levels of severity on different types of events that we care about, so that we can go and look at those further, or in the cases where we understand a particular threat is of a high severity rating, we can actually terminate the session before an action can be completed, giving us very proactive control over what actually happens within our IT infrastructure.